Well, we continue, please. Please. Thank you. Thank you all. I have the honor to share this table with two high dignities whom I very much admire. The fathers of the Magna Charta Universitatum, Professor Roversi-Monaco and Professor Bricall. Both had an eminent role in drafting the content of the Magna Charta Universitatum. Thus, they still will help us developing and adapting Magna Charta to current days and challenges. Professor Bricall was a member of the committee for drafting of the Magna Charta Universitatum, was rector of the University of Barcelona, member of the Council of the United Nations University, president of the Association of European Universities, and doctor honoris causa in the University of Soca, Japan, Bologna, Tarragona. Well, Professor Roversi-Monaco was elected rector of the University of Bologna and was rector 15 years, and he founded the Magna Charta Observatory in order to safeguard the principles of Magna Charta. Now he's the president of the Museum of City of Bologna, and he received many honorary degrees, among them Brown University in the United States, Université Panthéon-Sorbonne, Soca University, Japan, University of Barcelona. Well, both Professor Roversi-Monaco and Professor Bricall will undoubtedly offer us excellent ideas on the right model of university which should guide us at a time when numerous initiatives are proliferating that deviate from the classical concept according to the principles and values of the Magna Charta. Perhaps this is the main question to be resolved in our meeting. What is a university and what should it be today? Let us learn from Professor Bricall and Professor Roversi-Monaco. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Rector. Magnificus Rector of the University of Salamanca, and Honorary President of the Magna Charta Observatory, dear friends. I am a man of the past, so you have to refer to the past. To better understand the project to develop a Magna Charta Universitatum in 1988, we have to mention two important events which happened in the late 80s. Indeed, in 1968, the Single European Act set a deadline for the creation of a single market, the 1st of January 1993. This new treaty required the member states to commit to establishing a European without borders at that date. No restrictions could delay the establishment of a genuine European internal market. The Single European Act was signed and ratified by the 12 member states of the community on July 1st, 1987. Moreover, in that year, the first time the European institutions decided to intervene in the higher education field. In fact, in May, the European Council adopted an Erasmus project of direct interest to 6 million students of 12 member states at that time. The project aims towards the creation and development of a cooperation network between universities. The program enforced, it's important to underline it, the role of the universities beyond their borders and beyond the regulations of the European governments. I would like to underline the importance of that move, which seemed to strengthen the will for a Europe of citizens. Such a positive feeling at that time was very much shared by university leaders, and it spread an optimistic view of the European dream. These circumstances explain the initiative of the rector of the University of Bologna, my friend Roversi-Monaco, to convene a meeting of about 30 university leaders some days after the approval of the Erasmus project, under the subject Oltre Erasmus, Beyond Erasmus. The meeting was the second one after the University of Leuven organized one, the first one, in November 1986. There in Bologna, a committee was appointed to sketch out a draft of Magna Charta Universitatum. The text was written by the committee in the University of Barcelona in January 1988. Probably the background idea of the Bologna meeting was to renew the university tradition, which touched by the turmoil of the late 60s. There was the suspicion that maybe we throw out the baby out with the bath water. This concern of the University of Bologna for the future of universities was due to its special responsibility as the oldest of the European universities, of the universities in general, maybe. Just when the university was preparing to celebrate its 900th anniversary. The document of the Magna Charta Universitatum was approved and signed by a important number of rectors beyond Europe too, and heads of universities on September 1988, in a very moving ceremony in Bologna Piazza Maggiore. Subsequent events enhanced the importance of this document. Effectively, in 1989, there was the end of the division of Europe, and the universities of Central and Eastern Europe saw in the Magna Charta the project of university which they longed for. Many universities subsumed the document or took account of it when drafting new regulations of their universities in those countries. Let me consider two aspects of the Magna Charta that deserve special care even today. First, the definition of a genuine university. Among the higher education institutions. I remember very much when we wrote Magna Charta in Barcelona, Fabio very much insisted with the idea of genuine university in the world of higher education institutions. According to the Magna Charta, therefore, universities are autonomous institutions independent of political authorities and economic powers, where teaching and research must be inseparable if their tuition is not to lag behind changing needs, the demand of the society, and the advances of scientific development. Second, to envisage the university as the trustee of the European humanistic tradition, taking care to attain universal knowledge, that's the text of the Magna Charta. To fulfill its vocations, it transcends geographical and political frontiers. I have chosen these 2 points of the text because I would like to make 2 suggestions. In spite of being a man of the past, I am interested in the future of the universities and in the present problems of the universities. Maybe there are not very important suggestions, but they are my suggestions, for me, are important. First suggestion, to avoid a short-term approach. The excessive focus on short-term result at the expense of long-term achievement is a dangerous trend of our times, where haste infects everywhere. Since the origin, the concept of university is that of a community of teachers and scholars, with the purpose of inhalating and imparting knowledge through generations. It's difficult, therefore, to apply the notion and the formula of private business, or a merely vocation-oriented school, or a merely or a merely vocation-oriented school. Nor it is possible to impose on a university system the concept of the market, as it is debatable whether the conditions for a competitive market exist. Seeing universities in market terms does not recognize the fundamental role of creating an environment in which the creative tension between students, the academics, and the institution itself is held together thanks to the common commitment to a love of learning. In fact, the development of humanism in parallel with the scientific revolution set up a new idea of truth as a provisional statement, not derived and given from above, but something to be discovered and then applied. The enlargement of the horizons of higher education in order to respond properly to the new social demands increased the number of the students and teachers. On the other hand, the joint venture of the new scientific discovery with the humanistic approach to the problems of mankind promote both the practice of the social criticism and the capability of the university to nourish technical and economic innovation. But this practice can be applied also to the institutions and social relations, supplying the rigorous basis of the social criticism. Actually, research, a characteristic of the university among other institutions of higher education, spreads creativity as far as the students and future professionals become habituated to throw out upon previous knowledge and the traditional skills. This creativity is the required condition to display ability to innovate in the laboratories as well as in the process of production in the society after the Industrial Revolution. Today, different actors, public and private, are engaged in the innovation process, and their role has changed over the time. Universities and public agencies now fund the science base, but, I insist, but, universities in particular could probably promote the pursuit of knowledge and ensure the continuity of generating knowledge through their time-honored hotbed without worrying about generating immediately profitable patents and spin-off companies. Let me continue with the second suggestion. It's smaller, in any case. My second suggestion is to resist tight budgets. I suppose you understand me very well. An ideological trend not very differential, not consistent with the achievement of welfare state, has been to impose tight budgets to the universities. Such a policy has imposed a transition in the university sector, whereby income from tuition fees has gradually supplanted the direct transfers from the government over the last few decades and led to a conception of the student as a customer. As the tuition fees have increased dramatically, the volume of students' loans in some countries has reached an important weight in the indebtedness system. One of the effects of financial restraint has been to bring together the universities with commercial enterprises in order to launch joint activities. Very recently, a possible abuse of such collaboration has been detected in a prestigious European university and has received some criticism in the media. But we need to pay attention to an ever more dangerous impact. The cost of education will probably grow in the future. That imposes a huge inequity on those who are not qualified for financial aid. If you add legacy preference or to diversity, you find a shrinking space to meritocratic admission. As it has been commented recently, what is happening to college admissions offices mirrors large trends in society. As people lose faith in meritocracy, they turn to identity politics, nihilism, and apathy. So, new challenges demand, perhaps, risky solutions. And to keep the tradition means sometimes to throw out the bath water. Thank you very much.
Magnificent rector. Oh, excuse me. Magnificent rector and friend, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The conception and effective realization of the Magna Charta, with the support of the leading universities of the world, was the outcome of a period starting in 1960s, characterized by the involvement of the European institution in a series of extremely positive actions. As a result, it was in a particular dynamic and creative period for the European universities that the role of Magna Charta was established also in the context beyond Europe, immediately playing an authoritative role. This is important from the historical point of view, since the Charta was effectively adopted as a document drafted by the European universities, and initially only European universities were represented in the committee that approved it. I want to remember the name. Friend Josep Bricall, but also Carmine Romanzi, Giuseppe Caputo, Roger Dillemans, Hans van Ginkel, Jacques Soppelsat, Manuel Núñez de Cabo, representing the European Union, was rectors of the very important universities of Europe. The drafting of the Magna Charta took almost a year, but the number of universities offering their support was greater than expected, with no objection raised by the international academic community. Over the past 30 years, hundreds of other universities have added, let me say, perhaps too many in terms of number and importance, due to the fact that in some cases, these universities are dedicated mainly to awarding vocational qualification of an extremely specialized nature, and this could be considered in conflict with the very concept of the university. The committee was well aware of the need for appropriate criteria for determining which higher education institutions were entitled to take part. This gave rise to the adoption of an expression that is both proper and useful, the expression true university, preamble clause 1, to determine whether an application should be approved or not. At the same time, it is to some extent inadequate, since it can be interpreted in a manner that is too elastic, giving rise to unacceptable expectation. The main question concerns the difficulty of properly identifying the characteristics of true universities. As already mentioned, one of the fundamental points of the document concerns the fact, the connection between teaching and research, as said Joseph, And this is a fundamental principle of the model of higher education that has been handed down to us. However, in the present state of affairs, it appears to be much more difficult than in the past to classify certain institutions as true universities. Even though they are innovative and important, higher education institutions in which teaching and research should go hand in hand have become increasingly complex and extremely diverse and unequal, to the point that they cannot be identified with just one model. This is a crucial matter. In general, institutions of higher education should be allowed to send the Magna Charta only if they possess the characteristics of the Universitas. The evaluation of these institutions should be carried out by means of proper monitoring by the academic community, giving birth to the Magna Charta Observatory, important institution, founded in 2000 at the University in Bologna with the support of the European University Association. Insufficient attention was paid to the risk that in many countries and universities turned out to be well-founded, associated with the continuous instrumental evolution of discipline claiming to be vocational in nature, which young people often prefer. These disciplines are often characterized by a creativity that is short-lived and are also subject to an extremely rapid turnover, giving rise to any case to an evolution that is too rapid. This uncontrolled proliferation of online universities has made the situation all the more difficult, with programs that are lacking in substance, that take a significant amount of resources and students away from the other universities. All of this is part of a tendency that is now evident, above all in the higher social classes, to prefer higher education programs focusing at an early stage on a limited range of topics that are attractive in vocational terms, to enable young people to conclude in a short time as possible studies and experience that are considered to be essential or useful for the award of the final degree. However, I wish to underline that pressure is applied for the period of study to be reduced for the benefit of business that can be a valid interlocutor only on conditions that have not yet been clearly defined. This kind of higher education that may be of benefit for business, but certainly not for young people, pays little attention to problems of a general nature, particularly for the scientific faculties. It pays limited attention to the need to develop teaching and basic research in the discipline. Moreover, there is no doubt that the concept of higher education that enables graduates to operate within a narrow range of action, in many cases with specialized technological equipment that is continually evolving, while providing in a short time professional skills that are lucrative, justifies, or rather safeguards, extremely high tuition fees. And this is likely to be detrimental to the system as a whole. And this cannot be considered as a good result in the overall system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Roversi-Monaco, Honorary President, and Professor Bricall for your brilliant suggestions. We are just on time, so we have to follow with the following panel, and there is no time for questions. So thank you very much. And we change.